الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So today inshallah we'll continue our lesson in Ilm al-Mustalah, and last week we had discussed in the introduction regarding matters pertaining to Ilm al-Hadith. So we discussed concerning the science and the different names that the science sometimes refer to. Also we discussed matter relating to some of the more well-known established books that cover this particular science. And also we discussed the book in general, the book that we'll be studying, which is the book that is called Al-Tadhkira fi Ulum al-Hadith. And the author of that book, as we mentioned, Umar ibn Ali ibn Ahmed al-Ansari, that is referred to, that is known as Ibn Malakhin. So Ibn Malakhin rahimullah, that he put this Mudhakkira as a form of a that covers concerning Ilm al-Hadith, and also something that can be used for those who are studying this particular science. So today inshallah we'll start by reading through this Mudhakkira, this particular thesis that is written on this topic regarding Ilm al-Hadith. So we go there. So I'll read the introduction of the author rahimahullah, and also what he mentioned regarding matters relating to the subject of Ilm al-Hadith. So in starting inshallah tabarak ta'ala, that it is mentioned by Ibn Malakhin rahimahullah by stating, Allahu ahmadu ala na'ma'i wa ashkuru ala alahi wa usalli ala ashraf al-khalq Muhammad wa ala alihi wa usallim. So the author rahimahullah, Ibn Malakhin, that he started this mudhakkira by praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by saying, Allahu ahmadu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to him we praise for all of his bounties. And also we are thankful that he is thankful of all of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's favors upon him, and that he sent the salutation upon the Prophet ﷺ, who's the greatest of creation, Muhammad, and also his family, and also alihi. And then he mentioned at-taslim. Then he mentioned wabad. And as ulama rahimahullah have mentioned regarding concerning that statement of wabad, that what is preferred to be said according to the hadith, amma bad. But after rahimahullah, he mentioned wabad. Then he mentioned, continuing regarding introduction, he mentioned وهذه تذكرة في علوم الحديث يتنبه بها المبتدي ويتبصر بها المنتهي اقتضبتها من المقنع تأليفي. Then he mentioned regarding the second matter that he mentioned, a part of his introduction, that to outline concerning one, وهذه تذكرة في علوم الحديث, that is tadhkira fi ulum al-hadith. So that's the name of the book that he has written regarding the title of the book, which is At-Tadhkira fi ulum al-hadith. So he mentioned the name of the book. Then he mentioned that as for the purpose of this book, the intent of this book, as a form of tanbih, for those, as a form of something that to start with for those who are the beginners. So something that to be used, that is useful for the person who's a beginner to start with, and also yatabassar biha al-muntahi, and also something as a reminder and something of insight for those people who are more advanced in this particular science. And he mentioned iqtadabtuha, that also that he have meaning that he made an iktisar, a summary taken from his book Al-Muqna. So the author rahimahullah, Ibn Malakhin, as we mentioned in his introduction, that he has that this book Al-Tadhkira, that it is a summary of another book of his, which is called Al-Muqna fi Ulum al-Hadith. And also, as we mentioned, that Al-Muqna fi Ulum al-Hadith is a mukhtasar from the book of Ibn Salah rahimahullah, which, as we mentioned, that is called Ulum al-Hadith. Then he mentioned, so they mentioned concerning this book, Al-Muqna is a book that is in print in 2 volumes, and also a very beneficial book in the Ilm al-Hadith, even though it's a mukhtasar of Ibn Salah book, Muqaddimah Ibn Salah, but a very beneficial book regarding Ilm al-Hadith. Then he mentioned, continue to mention, ilallahi arghabu fi an-naf' biha, that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we seek that this will be something of benefit وَإِنَّهُ بِيَدِهِ وَقَادِرٌ عَلَيْهِ. And this is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He's the one who have control over this matter. Then he mentioned, so that's concerning introduction of the author rahimahullah. Then now we go into the actual now topic itself of ilm al-hadith. Then he mentioned as a aqsam al-hadith. Then he mentioned, so concern the first of those things to be discussed, aqsam al-hadith. Then he mentioned aqsamuhu thalatha, that concerning that the categorization of hadith, that is in three categories: sahih, wa hasanun, wa da'ifun. So according to the author rahimahullah, he mentioned concerning aqsamuhu, meaning hadith, that is of three types: sahih, second hasan, and third da'if. And that's concerning what is mentioned by Ibn Salah rahimahullah regarding concerning that the categorization of hadith, that the ulama are what have been established by the ulama of the ulama, that hadith it is categorized into three categories. And regarding concerning the categorization of hadith, that the ulama have mentioned regarding concerning of the first of those who mentioned or claimed this categorization of hadith into three categories is a person, as we mentioned, one of the ulama, who's Abu Sulaiman al-Khattabi. So al-Khattabi, that he mentioned that the ulama of hadith, that they categorize hadith into three categories. Then you find that even though before the ulama of old regarding ilm al-hadith, al-Bukhari, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Ali ibn Madini, and others, that regarding concerning that, they mainly, what was mainly established amongst the ulama of hadith, that hadith is actually categorized into two categories. So the ulama of old, of that discussed, that covered concerning categorization of hadith, that they mainly place hadith into two categories: sahih wa da'if. But for them, Hasan was not an independent, separate category. But in the time of At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah, that in his book Al-Jami', that he started to mention and use the word of Hasan. So that was the introduction of the use of Hasan with Tirmidhi. Then Khattabi, who came and he mentioned that this categorization of hadith into three categories is something mentioned by the ulama of hadith. Even though Iraqi, Hafid Iraqi rahimahullah, he mentioned that ma sabakahu, that he doesn't know that anyone who preceded Al-Khattabi in categorizing hadith into three categories. Then at the time of by Ibn Salah time period, then this was something which was mentioned by Ibn Salah, that hadith is categorized into three categories. And since after then it's become the established norm amongst ulama of hadith, that hadith is categorized into three categories. So since Ibn Salah, it becomes now, we said the thing which is established, that hadith in general is categorized into three categories: sahih, hasan, and da'if. Then continue the discussion that he mentioned. So as he mentioned that aqsam al-hadith. So before we continue on regarding that, also a matter to be considered or to be mentioned, that concerning what is hadith, as we are studying concerning ilm al-hadith. So what is hadith? The ulama of hadith rahimahullah have given mentioned regarding concerning various definition concerning hadith, but concerning what they mentioned concerning hadith, ما أضيف إلى النبي عليه السلام من قول أو فعل أو تقرير أو صفة, as mentioned by As-Suyuti in as mentioned by Suyuti rahimahullah. So the ulama, that they have somewhat categorized hadith into those, have defined hadith as that, as mentioned, ma'udif, that what have been that have been referred back to the Prophet ﷺ regarding his statement, his actions, things he approved of that was done by others, and also fourthly concerning his sifa, concerning whether those things regarding his physical appearance, or things regarding his sifat, regarding things mentioned about his akhlaq and his mannerism. So those are concerning, and also some mention regarding wa ayyami, and also regarding things of ayyamin concerning his ghazawat, his battles. So overall, that's concerning a definition of hadith. ما أضيف إلى النبي عليه السلام من قول أو فعل أو تقرير أو صفة أو أيام. So those concern the definition of ilm al-hadith as mentioned by some of the ulama of hadith. So with that, they mention concerning that the next matter that the author rahimullah Ibn Malakin that they mentioned is mudhakira fal-sahih, meaning concerning the definition of sahih. So discuss first concerning the categorization of hadith, the different categories of hadith, sahih, hasan, and daif. Then now we'll discuss each of them separately. First sahih, and as for sahih, meaning the definition of sahih, ما سلم من الطعن في إسناد ومتن ومنه متفق عليه وهو ما عوده الشيخان في صحيحيهما. So then the author rahimullah, he mentioned regarding the definition of hadith sahih. Sahih, according to him, mentioned here ما سلم من الطعن في الإسناد والمتن. That hadith sahih, that a hadith which is free from ta'an, any form of attack or criticism regarding to the isnad, and as we mentioned concerning the isnad, or to the matin, to concerning the narrators, the chain, or to the matin, or to the text of the hadith. So that this is the definition he gave regarding regarding hadith sahih, and without doubt that this definition is not that what it is well known concerning hadith sahih. So the author rahimahullah, that he didn't define hadith sahih by what is referred to as ta'rif bil had, by way of giving a clear definition regarding what is meant by sahih, but give a general idea as regarding what is supposed to be sahih or what is meant. So regarding concerning as sahih and what is defined as concerning hadith sahih, then the more correct definition concerning hadith sahih that the ulama have mentioned regarding concern that they mentioned that hadith sahih, that they mentioned ما اتصل سنده, so اتصال السند ما اتصل سنده بنقل عدل ضابط عن مثله إلى منتهى ولا تكون شاذا ولا معلل. So that's concerning what is meant by hadith sahih. So hadith sahih, then it is defined, and we can give also definition of Ibn Salah, that also since then become the definition that is somewhat been established and somewhat been tweaked, but generally concerned the definition that is used regarding what is said to be hadith sahih. So Ibn Salah rahimahullah, he mentioned regarding was sahih mujma' alayh. As for hadith sahih mujma' alayh, between the ulama of hadith. So this is a definition that is agreed upon by the ulama of hadith, as mentioned by Ibn Salah and also mentioned by Al-Muqna, by Ibn Malakin in his Muqtasar of Ibn Salah. We mentioned ma ittasal isnaduhu bi'udulin dabitin. So he mentioned that what is hadith sahih, where the isnad is continuous, narrated by udul dabitin, by those who are said to be trustworthy, credible, with good memory, min ghayri shudud wala illa, and it is free from shudud wa illa. So that's concerning what is defined as hadith sahih. So hadith sahih ma ittasal isnaduhu, what as a continuous chain, binaqlin adlin dabit, that is transmitted by narrators who are considered to be trustworthy, credible, and also they have good, precise memory. And also the fourth matter, min ghayri shadh, and it is not what is said to be shadh, wala, as he mentioned here, illa, and it is not said to be consisting of illa. So that's concerning what is hadith sahih. So I will explain now. So the next task is explaining regarding that definition of hadith sahih. So we mentioned one, ittisal as-sanad. So the first of those criteria regarding of hadith sahih, ittisal as-sanad. That a hadith, that then ittisal as-sanad. That concerning that and ittisal as-sanad, meaning each narrator heard or took the hadith from the person from his teacher until the end of the hadith. So each narrator heard or received the hadith from the person who was his teacher from the start through to the end of the isnad. That is ittisal sanad, by way of that there's no breakage, that a hadith is salim min al-inqita, that this isnad, it is free from any form of breakage between the narrators. So that's concerning of the meaning of ittisal sanad. The second of those things regarding concerning binaqlin ad-dabit, that the narrators or rawat al-dabitin, that the narrators that said to be that they have adala, that the rawat, the narrators of the hadith, the ones who transmit the hadith, and in most cases the rawat, they will be men, but sometimes they are female. So regarding al-rawat, that narrators of hadith, that they themselves have to fulfill certain criteria. And of those criteria that is looked at is regarding one, their level of adala, their level of trustworthiness and credibility, and regarding matters concerning that, they are known to be those people that they are not known to be liars, they are not known to be people who are involved openly in acts of transgression, of acts of sinfulness, and also that they are known to be of people of good conduct and behavior. So that's concerning adala. So those people should not be people who are known for fisk. Of a thing that is sometimes mentioned by the ulama regarding ilm al-hadith, that they would discuss concerning this matter pertaining to adala of the narrators, that they said a person that they require, one is Muslim, second mukallif, and that taklif meaning concerning is aqil, balig. Another of the criteria they mentioned that is Muslim, mukallif, salim min al-fisk, that is free from any form of fisk or sinful behavior. So these are the criteria that normally that they will put regarding a narrator. So that's the thing that they consider regarding those who are the narrators, that the person, you have certain criteria. But at times you'll find that some of those criteria that are mentioned regarding the rawat, regarding adala. So we mentioned that these type of criteria regarding that, we said that is Muslim, aqil, baligh, that is a Muslim of sound mind, above the age of puberty, salim min al-fisk, al-zahir, is free from any acts of transgression openly. That you might find that these type of things that are mentioned sometimes are taken as a criteria regarding rawat, but these are normally mentioned in the books of usul al-fiqh regarding those who are said to be concerning shahada, people who can give act as witness. So there's a difference between a person being a witness and a criteria regarding a person who's a rawat. So the ulama of hadith, when they study regarding adala of the narrator, of those things that they look at and discuss more regarding the person not known to be, that the Muslim is not known to be a fasik, openly involved in sins, but also they put emphasis regarding a person regarding that is not known to be a liar or one accused of lying. So the ulama of hadith, that they'll put emphasis regarding concerning those matters, and also they'll regarding adala, what can remove a person adala, the person is unknown to them. So of the things to bear in mind, that the criteria regarding adala that is mentioned by the usuliyin, the fuqaha, is mentioned regarding their science of usul al-fiqh. And as for concerning adala in ulama of hadith, that you might find they might have a slight difference. They might have a slight difference regarding the criteria depending on each science. Also, of the criteria regarding concerning that, so adala is required from all of the narrators that is mentioned in the isnad, in that particular isnad. So all narrators must fulfill that criteria concerning adala. Also of those things that they mention regarding adopt. So regarding of the other matter, regarding mention that of the hadith, that ittisal sanad, binaqlin ad-dabit, regarding concerning avin adala, we mentioned that bit. Then as for matters regarding concerning adopt, which is concerning dabt, concerning al-hifz, that a person is able to can memorize or retain the hadith correctly. And these things concern these criteria regarding adala and dabt, that the person, that this dabt, which is concerning a person able to record and to memorize the hadith, that dabt is of two types. Dabt as-sadr, as the ulama of hadith mentioned, dabt as-sadr, the person memorized the hadith as he heard it. So the person, from the time the person receive it, he has memorized it and retain it, and is able to can deliver that hadith as required. That's dabt as-sadr. The person now, when he received the hadith, heard the hadith, is able to memorize it as he received the hadith, and also is able to deliver that hadith as whenever required, as it was received. That is dabt as-sadr. And that's the highest level. The next level of dabt is dabt al-kitab. So dabt al-kitab, with a person, dabt al-kitab regarding dabt by way of the person who have received the hadith, heard the hadith, he records it in his book, and he protect that hadith from any form of change. That is dabt al-kitab. So that's concerning, both are considered to be reliable sources regarding what is referred to as dabt. So that's concerning matter regarding a dabt. The other matter regarding concerning, but dabt also is of different levels, and we'll discuss that concerning the difference between hadith al-sahih and hadith al-hasan is based upon the personal level of dabt. The difference is because in the level of the personal level of memorizing of the hadith, or the level of dabt. And then we mentioned the last, another of those two matters concerning, regarding hadith, concerning of the explanation concerning min ghayri shudud wa la illa, that hadith should be free. Absent from the hadith should be things regarding shudud. And shudud is of the meaning of shudud wa illa. What is meant by those? Shudud, in the scholars of hadith, mutaakhirin of latter times, that they generally define concerning ash-shudud as mukhalifa athika liman huwa awthaq minhu, or man huwa arja minhu. Or as Ibn Hajar even mentioned, mukhalif al-maqbul liman huwa arja minhu. So they mention concerning that the ulama of mutaakhirin, they kind of more defined concerning what is said to be shudud, and shudud, the form of someone contradicting another person. So they mention concerning that there's no conflict between some of the narrators. So the absence of conflict. So they mentioned that shudud, mukhalifa, is when one reliable narrator contradicts another, and then one have to accept one and reject the other. That is shudud. So you have two reliable persons conflicting each other, stating something that seems to be conflicting. So that is shudud. So you should absence of shudud. But that's concerned with the ulama of mutaakhirin. The ulama al-qudama of old, in describing concerning ash-shudud, that they'll mention that, as mentioned by Ibn Daqiq al-Eid and also al-Dhahabi rahimahullah, that they are more inclined towards concerning what is meant by shudud regarding concern from the ulama of old, that concerning ma khalifihi al-thiqa ghayru, that when a person who is thiqa, a narrator who is thiqa, credible narrator, that he contradicts another thiqa min al-thiqat, from the people who are thiqat, aw ma infarad bihi ma la man, or a person who somewhat he narrates something on his own, and that he narrates something contrary on his own, other than what is mentioned by others. So that's concerning another aspect concerning ash-shudud, when one person somewhat, as a person, one narrator is mentioning that which was not said by others. That's where there's more. So that's we discussed that further concerning babu shudud. So that's the general thing concerning that. That will be discussed further. So shudud is a form of conflict or contradiction between riwat who are said to be thiqat. Then they mentioned concerning then the last of those things concerning adam al-illa is regarding concerning what is meant by illa in the al-mutaakhirin min ulama, as they mentioned concerning illa that should be free concerning that. They mentioned that huwa sabab ghamid khafi يخدع في صحة الحديث ما أن ظاهر الحديث سلامة. So I mentioned concerning that ulama of hadith, that some have explained concerning what is meant by al-illah, where that there's a matter which is hidden defect in the hadith that may not be detected by the general mass, but requires a person who's a specialist to detect this. So it's an illah, a defect in the hadith that one may not detect from what is apparent, from the hadith. But there's a defect that is there, but it's not apparent. So that is what is meant by al-illah. So there's a defect in the hadith that is hidden, that may not be detected except by those who specialize in this field. That's concerning, but the ulama al-mutakaddimin, the ulama of old, that of times that they will refer to concerning al-illah at times of thing which is apparent, and also illah for them also is thing which is hidden. So defects in the hadith that at times will be hidden and at times it will be apparent. But it requires a person who's a specialist to can detect the more intricate of those illah. So that's concerning, in general, concerning what is meant by the meaning of hadith sahih. That is what is meant. So by this, the ulama come to the conclusion that the next matter is concerned that by this, then hadith, it has 5 conditions that must be met for a hadith to be ruled or said to be authentic. 5 conditions must be fulfilled based upon the definition of hadith sahih and what we have explained. One of the 5 conditions of hadith, shurut hadith as-sahih, that one, ittisal sanad, the hadith must have a continuous chain which is unbroken, where each person heard from the one that was before him, from his teacher until the end, from start through to the end. The second condition, adalatul rawat, that all the narrators must be people who are credible, trustworthy. The third is that dabt al-rawat, all of them must be of a level of good memory, of precise memory, whether by way of in their chest or by way of their books. The 4th condition is concerning adam ash-shudhud, the hadith should be free from contradictions and conflicts. And also 4th, adam al-illah, it shouldn't have any hidden defects that will have an impact on the authenticity of the hadith. So those are the 5 conditions. So anyone who wishes to study hadith or rule a hadith, that they're able to can tick these 5 boxes. And the hadith, it fulfills these 5 conditions. If it misses one of those conditions, the hadith is not authentic. So if it forfeit one of the 5 conditions, the hadith is deemed not to be authentic. So those are the things that the person who is studying the hadith, research on the hadith, that he has to bear in mind and consider that these 5 things are fulfilled. Ittisal al-sanad, adalatul rawat, dabt al-rawat, the memory of the rawat, and also those 3 things are things we say thubuthiyya, things that should be present. And then we have 2 things that need to be absent, to be removed from the hadith. Adam al-illah wa adam al-shudud. Those things should be, the hadith should be free from those things. So those are the 5 things that must be combined together for hadith to be said to be authentic. With this, so you might find the next matter regarding concern the ulama of hadith sometimes may have a difference regarding are those 5 conditions met. So for one alim, he may believe that after study, these 5 conditions are not met in a particular hadith. And another alim may study the same hadith and believe that those 5 conditions were met. So sometimes I find a slight difference in how they apply these 5 conditions, even though it is agreed upon by the ulama of hadith. And in time that you might find that, especially concerning that to be a matter to be mindful of, that a person that in studying hadith, a lot of emphasis sometimes is concerning the first 3 matters. The isnad is continuous. The narrators are said to be of trustworthy, of adala. The third, that the narrators are said to be of of doubt, good memory. But as for the last two, Adam Shudda wal illa, sometimes they may be a little bit complacent in that area. So something to be mindful of. So that inshallah ta'ala, we'll stop there concerning shurut al-hadith al-sahih. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذا السبيل والآخر دعوانا الحمد لله آمين. And we'll continue the next lesson. وبالله توفيق. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.